Macon, Georgia, and I thought I would stop down here to the historic landmark to record a little bit of information concerning the phone call I received this morning. And last night I was sent an email from a little city called Cordele, Georgia. Yes, Cordele, Georgia. Cordele, Georgia. But last night I was at city council meeting here in Gordon, and I tell you, it's still going on about the money. It's always about the money. It's always seemed to be about the power. It always seemed to be about the local newspaper, and the rest is history. But I'm on my way now to Cordele. I just received an email and a phone call about that city and about a delayed audit, and that the audit found approximately $1 to $2 million that is now in question. We're going to Cordele because we want to know what's going on there. If there is a question about the money, then this will be the 14th city in the state of Georgia that have problems with the money or with voting irregularities, and the state of Georgia, including GMA, dealing with elected officials and city government, seems to care less about it. Of course, now here in Gordon, you know Mayor Ann Whippaloo. They have taken her through hell and high waters, but yet you do not hear the same outcry about accounting for the taxpayers' dollars in this little small town. I've been coming to this city for about 16, 18 months now because I'm concerned about voting rights, and Secretary of State Brian P. Kemp and others who seem bent on circumventing the power of the black vote and black Americans holding elected office in the state of Georgia and perhaps in the United States of America. And while the United States Justice Department under Eric Holder did little to nothing about it, we're going to continue to give you the truth. If CNN does not cover, if MSNBC does not cover, if ABC, CBS, 47 Hours, 60 Minutes, if they don't report concerning voting rights in the state of Georgia, the citizens with social media, we must burn the midnight oil to say to the world, we're just not going to take it. As long as our sons and our daughters can fight these wars on foreign battlefields for the rights of foreigners, but their own mothers, fathers, sisters, and brothers cannot vote by absentee ballot, cannot be mayors in many Georgia cities with the same respect as white Caucasian has received for such a long, long time, even before black Americans could even cast a vote. And now it seems as if though the old crow is still flying high, but we have another crow above that crow called Jehovah God, the God of our ancestors. He will make truth victorious, even during the last days of the reign of the wicked. This is the Ghetto Free Press. I'm George Lawson Ryan. We report what CNN, MSNBC, and Fox and others will not report because it's not news to them. It's not news to ABC. They won't connect the dots to these little small towns, the Atlanta Journal and Constitution, and many local newspapers. Do you not know? Here in Gordon, there was a discrimination suit won by a former police officer. The Wilkinson County Post have not ran that article yet. It has been in the Telegraph out of Macon. But this editor, an executive editor, DeBose Porter and Judy Bailey, they report their news, but they will not report news on black Americans And this is what black Americans are talking about now. This is why Charlotte stood before city council and spoke so boldly and negatively about the Wilkinson County Post. And other citizens have said the same thing to me. They called it trash. They called it fish wrappers. I never call a newspaper fish wrappers, but that's what they say. And when Charlotte Simmons said what others say behind closed doors, well, we are going to do a video entitled "The Truth About the Wilkinson County Post and How They Denigrate the Historic Black Mayor, Mary Ann Whippaloo." Look, look, look. Get ready, get ready, get ready. Because the truth must be told. And that's what we intend to do. We're going to do a video of all the newspaper clippings that we have recorded. Then we're going to show you the disruption at city council meetings by this profound, nearly 30 years of reporting and journalism. We are going to show you, as Paul Harvey would say, the rest of the story. And I will assure you that I will not lie. I will not lie. In fact, I won't even speak. I will let the video footage speak of what certain individuals are doing here in Gordon, but they will not request a forensic audit, not even a regular audit, with a new mayor. Soon will be 2 years sitting in a chair and does not know anything about the finances, and it seems as if though our elected officials and the news media and GMA and Georgia officials don't give a damn. The Ghetto Free Press, you deserve the truth under our form of government, and by the grace of God, His Spirit will continue to give you the truth, because without truth, there can be no freedom.
At the last council meeting, I had some representatives from the Better Hometown to come up to me with the problem that they was having. And I don't think I see either one of them here tonight. Well, you here? Oh, Bruce is here?
And
okay, Bruce, okay. But it wasn't Bruce, but they brought this to my attention. And this happened with the G.B.R. I was told that someone had a wreck and tore up some of the things at G.B.R. and the person that was responsible for the wreck, their insurance had paid.
Excuse me?
That their insurance had paid the city.
Who was the individual, do you know?
I don't know who the individual
when did this
that
happen?
had the wreck.
What was it, a long time ago? Last year, year before?
Probably about a year ago.
Yeah, it's a little over a year ago.
I don't
And,
know anything about it.
Okay, well, they came to me last week, after the last council meeting, and they stated that they had came to City Hall to inquire about the money because they wanted to get everything fixed that was torn up, and that the person insurance had already paid, and they wanted to know when could they get it fixed and everything, and that they was told that the money went into the general fund. And so when the money went into the general fund, but then they're wondering, well, if our money went into the general fund, why can't we get our money out of the general fund so that we can get our parts in the park fixed? And so they was told that they had to ask Mr. Edie about it. They talked to Mr. Edie, Mr. Edis sent them back to City Hall. So if a check had already been written to pay for the damage that was done to the park, I would like to make a motion that this council would go ahead and issue them a check for the amount of money that they need to correct that damage.
Well,
Before you make the motion, may I explain what happened?
please
Okay.
bring me up to date. Was
The
it
part that she's
$5,000?
talking about is the triangle in the, three triangle section right out here. A car ran into it, they broke the fire hydrant down and broke that pole.
I mean, you know, where's the report? I never.
The police got it and the
I'd like to
insurance
see a
has been paid. Nothing can be done in that area to restore any of the flowers until that fire hydrant is replaced. Melvin and his crew cannot do it. They got to get someone in to dig down in the ground, replace that fire hydrant. Now, we just had an estimate on it, you know, at the time for the fire hydrant and to replace some of the shrubs. Until that fire hydrant gets replaced, there's no reason to do anything there because it's got to be dug up completely to get it down in the ground to put a new fire hydrant in. I explained every bit of that to Miss Arlene Lamb, that's who talked with me. And I explained exactly what I just said to her, and she was well satisfied with the answer that she got from me at that time.
Okay, they might have been at that time, but this was after the council meeting last time, and I guess, you know, if it been that long, I guess they figured by now it should have been taken care of.
If Mr. Lawrence was here, he would have to answer that. I don't have the answer to the replacement of the fire hydrant, I don't.
Now, let me ask you this, was what month of last year did this?
I could not
do
tell you.
remember?
Because
I'd like you to get a report of
first
that.
of all, I didn't know anything about this. They brought it to me.
This is my first.
And y'all are saying that it did happen. You're not denying it.
No.
And so, if they're ready for their check to be cut so they can go ahead and replace it.
Exactly.
You can't cut
They
checks
can't
without
re-
invoices.
And they can't
It's
replace
illegal.
anything till
So what
hydrant's
they need-
replaced.
what-
They can't do anything
Yeah,
till
but
they
it's
have them.
over you.
If the fire
But you
hydrants
still
cost
gotta
more.
replace the hydrant first, cause you go in there and you put the.
Okay, well then, we need to go ahead on that.
Councilwoman,
I mean,
since we're discussing this, let me ask, first of all, there's protocol for everything. And I hear this has gotta be done first, but first and foremost, if there was an accident, apparently it happened while I was not under my watch. Because if it was, then I was not apprised of it.
I think Mayor Turner may have been here when that happened. It's been a while, but we've had so many problems, they haven't been able to get to that. It's not that they don't want to, they haven't been able to. We're gonna have to get a private contractor to come in and replace those fire hydrants. And Melvin was trying to wait till we had several at one time so it would cut down on the cost.
Is Mr. Lawrence
This has
here?
been going on for quite a while.
Oh, come up, Mr. Lawrence, please, and tell us about this. I would, please.
I remember them wanting me to get prices.
When did
to-
this happen?
It's been over a year, I have no idea.
2014, 15, 13?
It would be in the police report, it's the date, I don't know. But, and I got, a price at that time.
How much was that?
I
Approximately.
would have to go, cause it would have to be Georgia hydrants, that's who we mainly wind up.
I mean, roughly a figure, I have no clue what
It was several $1,000s. It was over 2,000, and that was in.
so the guy's insurance is gonna pay for it all.
They've already
Very-
had this reimbursement
They're
check,
paid.
but you
The
can't,
insurance check.
you can't just write that check out and give it back to Better Hometown, because that's still city property. That is city property up there. And when the insurance check comes in, it goes back into the general fund, and we cannot pay out anything without an invoice.
So in other words, Better Hometown didn't have a
It's-
separate account?
They don't own that property. I mean, they may maintain it, but it belongs to the city of Gordon.
And I hear what you're
See,
saying,
and
but
it's the city of Gordon's money, it's bank account they went back into. And we cannot pay anything until they've done the work and get the invoices. We cannot just go write Better Hometown a check for $5,000 because they want it.
But do they have their own account, separate account, or?
This
or they
budget
in
just
with-
like the rest of the city.
Within the
It's in
city?
your city budget that you approved in here. Yeah,
So they don't,
Hometown has
what
a
I'm trying,
budget.
I understand that, but
Just
they
like
have their
water,
separate
sewage.
account. They don't have
I
this.
don't know if they have, I guess they may have a separate account under something else, but not for city monies. They may have something for what they raise on the side.
Well,
But
y'all
that check
help
has
us
to come back to
understand,
the
cause
city
I
of
don't
Corinth,
know.
because that is city money.
Okay. All right, well, now, so until we, get some more information, we can't really take a vote on this, except,
That's fine, but they brought it to me, I brought it to the council.
oh, yes, it's going to be
And-
dealt with. I mean,
and,
we're going to resolve it, but I just want,
Superintendent Lawrence did say that you had given them a bid.
To the best of my recollection, I had given them one from, I think it's Mid-Georgia Hydrants. But I have to look in my files to see. But as long as that's been, I probably need to get another one and, get some more.
But then to come and say something to me,
it's present.
Yes,
is
ma'am.
still present with them.
Okay.
And so the thing of it is my understanding is, we're gonna be consistent. I don't know anything about the, hydrants or such, but, you know, normally the standard, I think now since we've not said that we've adopted it, but I'd like for you to get 3 bids
Yes,
and
ma'am.
present those to us.
Okay.
Thank you. So with that being said, we'll, till we get further clarity on this, get the report, then we'll be able to move and get them taken care of, okay? We have Auditor Malden here. Could you come down and elaborate, please, about automatic data processing?
My name's Miller Edwards, and the mayor asked me to come here to see if you all had any questions relative to the outsourcing of payroll. I think outsourcing of payroll makes sense in a lot of governments. It makes sense in business. Payroll takes a lot of time by people and interrupts a lot of the qualitative element of their work when they have to run payroll often and deal with all the quarterly reports and all those kind of things. It's a task. Now, I know you've got people who have been doing it for years. I'm sure they've gotten good at it. But it is one of those kind of things that when it comes to bang for the buck, most of my clients, and we serve about 300 governments, very much, I'd say at least 90% of them outsource their payroll. And we're talking governments that are small, like the town of Whiteout or somebody like that, all the way to Gwinnett County. And again, a lot of businesses out there do it. I mean, there are businesses out there that might only have 2 people employed, and they still use an outsourced party like an ADP. I'm not here to support ADP, but it is a very cost beneficial product or service. It also helps with controls, and I cannot help but sit here tonight, this evening, and sense, might be the word, a lack of trust, a lack of respect, and concern over controls. And I think when you've got a community that has a small office of people who, those people are doing accounting, they're doing human resources, they're doing all kind of other admin duties, they're cutting checks. When you do that, the trick is to try to find a way to have cost beneficial, good internal controls. An ADP type party, an outsourced party, does provide a certain element of controls involved in doing this. I know there's concerns about the direct depositing and, you know, giving up bank account information, all that. Lord, we had the same thing at Malden Jenkins 15 years ago. We went to direct deposit our payroll. I'd have to say, I was a little suspicious. I mean, I'm about to give people information I don't even know. Well, things have changed in this world we live in, And I can tell you, as an employee of Marlin Jenkins, it is incredibly convenient to not have to go grab my check, stand in line, and make a deposit. Especially if I'm out of town or running around somewhere, it's not that convenient. So from that standpoint, I can see it being a good thing. But of course, there's all kind of ways to skin the cat. A lot of these outsourced parties, they don't have to use direct deposit. They can even do things like process your payroll and issue checks. The check would say City of Gordon with maybe a little logo of like ADP or whoever the outsourced party is would be on there. They'd be the ones actually cutting the checks. By them cutting the checks, we now have another party involved in helping establish controls. And that's just something to think about, is trying to find ways that are cost beneficial enhancements of controls. And a small community, a small government, and you all are that becomes difficult to do sometimes. It's real hard, you know, as an auditor, we can write up management points and findings all the time and talk about how you can do better with internal controls, but sometimes it's not cost beneficial. You can't all of a sudden take a community this size and say, well, we want to have your office have 7 people in it. 7 people so you can have the perfect internal control structure. But what you can do is try to engineer what you do and how you do it to do your best to promote good, sound, safekeeping, and controls. And I do think outsourcing payroll is one step in being able to do that, along with many other things. I mean, tonight I've heard y'all talk about who's on the bank accounts. I've got no problem with it being a person on the city council. I do have a problem with someone being able to write checks who also has all the administrative and accounting input as you have here with your short staff of people. For anybody to be able to do debits and credits to the system and all the funds and move things around like that and still be the one that can cut checks and sign them, that's a red flag in the world of auditing and looking at internal controls. You'd like to have somebody doing the accounting and then someone else writing the check and someone else signing the check. But we don't necessarily have that either. The movement of funds that I heard earlier tonight, movement of funds is not required by a resolution with Georgia Fund 1. None of my clients go through a resolution to do that. The resolution is how you spend the monies ultimately. All governments, cities, counties, water authorities, whatever it might be, most of them in Georgia have a Georgia Fund 1 account. It's a great place to park money for a short period of time or even a long period of time based on rates and the convenience factor of getting that money. People wire money from Georgia Fund 1 to their operating account all the time. The controls, and remember we had this discussion back in February when you were all talking about the budget. The control is how that money is ultimately spent. And that's where the budget is important. Because the budget is your legal level of control of how it's ultimately spent. Moving it from one bank account to another in the name of trying to put it in the right place so the checks can be issued. I've never had anyone have to go to city council to have moving the money from Georgia Fund 1.
We've always done it.
And that may be one of those things, that's what, if we've always done it that way, I respect that. But I'm just telling you, it's not required to do it that way. The best thing to do
If
is,
it's not in the budget, let me explain one thing to you, Reed, and I say that. If it's not listed in our budget, when we begin our budget in October, if we do not have any money to be transferred out of the One Georgia Fund as our money to help cover the budget, nobody can change that budget except this council, including any funds that are moved.
okay, and what I'm
That's
trying
our
to tell,
charge.
and what I'm trying to tell you is, in the world of generally accepted accounting principles and the idea of budgets, what you all do is not customary with the way other communities do these things. And Georgia,
Past practice, we've already done it, okay?
I understand. I said I respect what you're talking about, but I'm trying to explain to you that
We
money.
didn't ask for that explanation, we asked for you to just talk about this one,
Well, I was talking about the name of control.
but you know, you're going past that.
Okay, I have gone past.
Yes.
Far right.
I would
But
rather
again,
you stick just with this one subject, please.
On this one subject, I think would enhance internal controls. If you did consider going outsourced, this might go off the operation.
Sir, yes, sir. The only thing about this now is we can't do it in the middle of the year, see? We have a guided budget. It is nothing in our budget. We did not plan for anything such as this. The time to do this is, you know, the upcoming year.
I respect that.
That's fine, and
And you can always look at things at any interim point in time and consider doing an amendment.
Sir,
If it's not appropriate, it's not appropriate.
Sir, yes, sir.
But I do think, getting back to your question, I'm all about internal controls. You know, as an auditor, that's what I live and breathe, is looking at internal controls. And I do think outsourcing payroll in light of the short staffing that we have in a community of this size, which I would expect to be short staffed in that respect.
Sir.
I would think you try to do anything you can to outsource certain things to help enhance your controls.
Sir, I agree with that.
So that's where I'm coming from. Who you use, not my call. I'm just here to share and shed light on the concept.
Sir. There's proper time and place for all of it, but, you know, plan it at the end of the year as we go into the new year.
I mean,
I respect that.
Sure.
and to add to what you're saying, it doesn't matter, as you say with ADP, they are world renowned, if I'm not mistaken, and I believe, he shared that with me, that the previous bank, and I may be talking, you know, because, you know, I guess he felt the need, but, with Mars Bank, they are now, I don't know who they're using, but they outsource theirs.
A lot of places do.
The bank here in Gordon,
Like I
direct
said, it's a
deposit.
win-win in most cases. It helps
Exactly.
promote controls and it is cost-effective and efficient to do.
Don't put your hands on me. Don't put your hands on me. Do not put your hands on me.
Leave. You leave. Come on.
So we're gonna go to old business.
Madam Mayor, may I add 2 items to the agenda before we start? I have 2 items. The number 1 item is the status of the city attorney, and the second item is his invoices. I make a motion that we add both of these items to the agenda tonight.
Councilman, let me say this, before we, go any further, the clerk mentioned that to me, and I said with what we had going on tonight, we would table that at another meeting. We'll not be able to add, we're not, addressing anything.
I'm sorry, I have a motion. You need to ask for a second.
The motion, I did not ask for a motion, I did not recommend, you only stated a motion. And this is according to the meeting. And I have here before me how to conduct the meeting.
Question. We've got $150,000 that have not been accounted for in this budget. We mentioned that to you at the, hearing the other night. We've got to clear that matter up. That money was withdrawn from the One Georgia Fund, and it is not in this budget, and it's not part of our budget. We cannot go any further until we clear that item up. You know, before we adopt anything, we need to make sure that money is accounted for. You know, we didn't vote to move it, and it's not in the budget, see? So you tell me what we need to do.
Well, I would say, you know, concerning that 150, if it has been moved within the accounts but has not been expended, then it wouldn't be in the budget. And so if it's moved from one account to another, that's not an issue of that budget. If it has been spent, then that's something that would need to be taken into consideration with that budget.
It hasn't been spent.
Yeah, but the money had been moved since October the 1st, when our year started. The money was moved and put in the general fund in the bank. It has not been accounted for in any of our budget. We hadn't voted on it, and so that money is there. It's gonna be an accounting nightmare if we don't do something with it, you know?
Okay.
It's a revenue source, but it has not been approved and has not been voted on.
It really is not a revenue source. It's really just a cash transfer between bank accounts. So it really, if it's just a transfer between bank accounts, it does not need to be accounted for in your current budget. Because you're just transferring money from one account into another account. So that would not play into your current year's budget. It's just money that's sitting there that can be used, but it would still not, it is not a 2015 revenue source for you.
So what do you do with that money?
Well, it's just a transfer between two cash bank accounts. Yes, I mean, it's all within the same fund, so you're really just transferring from one account to another account.
But it hadn't been voted on.
Well, that's an entirely separate issue as to what happened with the 150,000, whether it was authorized or whatever, but in terms of the budget, that would not come into play when you're just talking about a cash transfer.
Try to explain that better to me. I mean, you've got to have all of your money accounted for and voted on as appropriation by this council, okay?
But that is money that was already in the account
In the reserve account.
Right, so you're just taking this, no different than if you, any other bank account you have, if you take money out of there, put it into your operating account to pay your bills, it's no different.
But it's not listed. It has to be in a budget before that money can be used or moved.
Well, again, I think that's a totally separate issue from what we're talking about here.
How? Explain to me.
If the cash is already in your Georgia 21 account,
It's there.
it was taken out and put into your another general fund account. So you're just moving cash to cash. There's nothing else that's happened.
But you can't move money that hadn't been approved by this
Well,
council.
that's a different issue than the budget itself. That is still not a revenue source of money the money was already there. It's not new money coming in.
But it was in the One Georgia Fund account, and it has not been voted to be moved.
Well, but that's a separate issue from the budget.
So how's it gonna be accounted for in budgeting?
It wouldn't be.
Would be or wouldn't be?
Would not be.
If it was spent at some point, at that point, it would become a reflection on the budget because that would be an expenditure. But if you're moving it from one account to another, it wouldn't be reflected on.
Yes, until that money is spent, it's really, at that point, you're just taking money, using money out of reserves as opposed to having a balanced budget.
But you can't move money unless it's budgeted and approved by the council. It's always been that way, Mr. Matt.
Well, but until that money is spent, and then that would be when you would have to do an amendment to, amend your budget for those additional expenses that are gonna be used, that 150,000 is gonna be used for.
Any further discussion? Council?
Right now, in your budget, that 150,000 is not being used.
So it can't be used. Not in this budget.
Right.
Right.
If it were to be used, you'd have to do an amendment to that budget right there to use that 150,000 that is currently, or was in reserves, now is in your operating account.
Okay, so you answered part of the question, but not all of it, about the legality of the
Well,
money being moved.
again, that's a totally separate issue, and that's
Okay.
not in my realm of capacity and
I
knowledge.
understand, but I'm stating it to you that it was not legally moved by this council, okay?
Any further discussion? No further discussion? Do I recommend that, I'd like to recommend that we take it, pardon? Yeah, I already have to accept the, what are you saying? I couldn't hear you.
We had already approved the adoption of it.
No, I'm sorry.
Right, this resolution
The
would just
resolution.
would be memorializing that.
Right, that's what we're doing.
Right, so we'd have something on paper.
Right. So can I get a motion that we accept the resolution?
I offer motion that we accept the resolution by the budget. Second.
Motion has been made in second. Roll call. Council, Densley. Thank you. Motion carries. The budget resolution has been confirmed. Thank you, Mr. Conning
Very welcome.
and Mr. Matt. We'll go ahead and. Council, these are finance chair, you need to look at that.
Let me ask you a question, please. As far as the payroll goes, yeah, there are days that I don't want to tell you that I don't have the best days. When I'm not having a good day, I don't even dress up. I stay around the house. The chief is ready to payroll checks out there. I got no problem signing payroll checks. I say, the only thing is, if you bring my head outside, bring me a check off list. Don't just bring me a bunch of checks and say, sign these. I want to check the list to see who's getting what. A lot of times people come down and sign a check, and the problem we've been having for years is not accountability. Is that so many of us are asked to sign a check by the clerk, and when you sign the check, everything is blocked but where you're supposed to sign it. Now we don't do that. But the initial check, you did not tell the amount. You just see where you put your name. I won't go into that. I got no problem signing payroll checks. I say, the only thing is, if you bring my head outside, bring me a check off list. Don't just bring me a bunch of checks and say, sign these. I want to check the list to see who's getting what. A lot of times people come down and sign a check, and the problem we've been having for years is not accountability. Is that so many of us are asked to sign a check by the clerk, and when you sign the check, everything is blocked but where you're supposed to sign it. Now we don't do that. But the initial check, you did not tell the amount. You just see where you put your name. I won't go into that. Everything is blocked but where you're supposed to sign it. Now we don't do that. Everything is blocked but where you're supposed to sign it. Everything is blocked but where you're supposed to sign it. Everything is blocked but where you're supposed to sign it. Now we don't do that. The chief is ready to payroll checks out there. I got no problem signing payroll checks. I say, the only thing is, if you bring my head outside, bring me a check off list. Don't just bring me a bunch of checks and say, sign these. I want to check the list to see who's getting what. A lot of times people come down and sign a check, and the problem we've been having for years is not accountability. Is that so many of us are asked to sign a check by the clerk, and when you sign the check, everything is blocked but where you're supposed to sign it. Now we don't do that. But the initial check, you did not tell the amount. You just see where you put your name. I won't go into that.
Council, these are finance chair, you need to look at that.
Let me ask you a question, please. As far as the payroll goes, yeah, there are days that I don't want to tell you that I don't have the best days. When when I'm not having a good day, I don't even dress up, I stay around the house. The chief did bring those payroll checks out there. I got no problem signing payroll checks. I said, only thing is, if you bring my hand, I sign it. Bring me a check off list. Don't just bring me a bunch of check and say sign these. I want to check the list to see who's getting what. A lot of times people come down and sign a check, and the problem we've been having for years is not accountability. Is that so many of us are asked to sign a check by the clerk, and when you sign the check, everything is blocked but when you're supposed to sign it. Now we don't do that. But the initial check, you did not tell the amount. You just see where you put your name. I won't go into that.
Tonight, I've heard y'all talk about who's on blank accounts. I've got no problem with it being a person on the city council. I do have a problem with someone being able to write checks who also has all the administrative and accounting input as you have here with your short staff of people. But for anybody to be able to do debits and credits to the system and all the funds and move things around like that and still be the one that can cut checks and sign them, that's a red flag in the world of auditing and looking at internal controls. You'd like to have somebody doing the accounting and then someone else writing the check and someone else signing the check. But we don't necessarily have that here. The movement of funds that I heard earlier tonight, movement of funds is not required by a resolution with Georgia 401. None of my clients go through a resolution to do that. The resolution is how you spend the monies ultimately. All governments, cities, counties, water authorities, whatever it might be, most of them in Georgia have a Georgia Fund 1 account. For anybody to be able to do debits and credits to the system and all the funds and move things around like that and still be the one that can cut checks and sign them, that's a red flag in the world of auditing and looking at internal controls. You'd like to have somebody doing the accounting and then someone else writing the check and someone else signing the check.
We have on the agenda A, adopt Georgia Fund 1 resolution. We're open for discussion.
Madam Mayor, may I add a question? I feel, my contention that it's really useless to keep that fund there in the Georgia 1. There's only $5,300 in that fund now, so if there's a legal signature on that fund right now, we need to just transfer that, to our general fund and just close that fund out and be through with it,
You see, my problem with this is our state open. With all that's going on, when I call that Secretary of State's office, there have been money transferred out of that fund, huge humps of money. And I was instructed by that Secretary of Treasury that the only person authorized to offer the transfer was me. And I let her know straight up, I have not authorized any transfer except one. When Mr. Warner wrote for $10,000 a bill and I wrote that note, that's the only one that I authorized. And she said, if we close this account, we will not have a ledger or a paper trail once this account is closed. There is $5,000 in that account is going interest, very little. But until we get some things resolved and find out what's going on with the money situation, as far as I'm concerned with the audit going on, this is not a good time to close any account.
Kind of expand on that a little bit.
What do you mean?
What is the audit plan on that?
You see that I will not sit here and talk about this all the time. We know the officer has been locked out, coming in here. But I'll pass this on to you. I talked to Bill, he said Bill instructed me, and I quote him. What he said to me today was, I need to get in 2 weeks. I need 2 weeks to come down to City Hall to finish up this audit. Because there are some very suspicious and disturbing transactions that have taken place. Now, without revealing what was going on, that's what he said, and that's what I'm telling you. And you all got calls now, you can call me and say. But right now, it's not a good time to be closing any account. Not with my name on it. If I close this account, which I was told I was the only one who can do it, I have a problem with closing something that I had authorized to be open in the first place. My name was on there, but I've had no dealing with this account. And there have been money, because I looked at the levy, there have been money claimed. And for me to close it right now is not a good idea, because the paper trail is not good. Until the audit can look at it, or somebody look at this, and we get to the bottom of what's going on, the account will not be closed if I have to.
I said, it was 4 months and he hadn't done anything before that.
He's been working up there, busy to it, he's been requesting information. What we need to do is allow him to come to City Hall, work with him, and allow him to complete the audit. The problem we're having is everybody's supposed to find where's the money. That's a good question. The audit is very much leading when the attorney for the concerned citizen states to the county that we are on the verge of bankruptcy. Now, if we're on the verge of bankruptcy, we need to know what's going on with the money. Now, he made that statement, and he ended in the courtroom by saying, yes, we're on the verge of bankruptcy, because the mayor and certain of her council members have been living frivolously or whatever, or just spending the city money. So if we're on the verge of bankruptcy, we need a report. And that concerned citizen state on the poster, where's the money? I want to know too. So let's let the audit do this thing. We have a choice. If we want to disengage Bill, that's fine. But we need to engage somebody to come here to complete this audit. We've got too far in the process to stop right now.
I know we're all behind and volunteer to be on the all people committee. And I thought if we just more or less over that committee, you know, keep aware of what you're going on.
Now, they can't hear you on this end.
Well, I ain't got a microphone, so I try to talk loud so everybody can hear me. But my interest in this is I didn't realize that one council person could make a decision on any of those things that we got each one of us look at. I didn't know. I thought council had to make have a meeting and talk about and vote on anything like that. I didn't know one person had that authority to close or open an account and that. I might be wrong, I am.
And you're not wrong, Scott. I didn't know that either. I didn't know that either, but when I talked to the woman at the office, she told me that. She said, Mr. Reeves, be it known that you are the only individual that's on this account that can authorize transferring money and closing this account. And I said, let me tell you something, ma'am, I had authorized nobody to transfer not one dime. And I will admit, the note that I wrote her to pay the auditor so we could get this thing going, that's the only one I said I asked. In the meeting, could we get $10,000 out of Missouri and pay the auditor? And Mr. Wallace said to me, you need to write me a note for that. And I did. It was not threatened. It's been in the paper. And so we need to get to the bottom. And I was not issue my name to say close an account. I want to know what's going on with the account. I'm the one standing there saying, they saying I had authorization. I didn't know that either. But once I learned that, then I said, hey, we're going to get a handle on this. Because whatever went on, I want to know myself because I'm involved with it. And I ain't authorized nobody to move any money. And we're not talking about $5,000 or $10,000 either.
Before the end of last year, how many other people were on that signature besides you? I understand that the previous, could I ask Mr. Brown who was on it before?
Sure, well, here it is right here, the original.
Could I see it, please, ma'am?
Well, here's all the thing.
Y'all give me just 1 second. Just 1 second, we're on it.
Me, the man from 42, I thought.
Okay. Before the first of the year.
Nope. She sent my copy of it. I was throwing out on March, sometime in March of 2013. It was changed. Some of the accounts were changed or something.
It was changed, it came directly out of the general fund account instead of being deposited straight to the general fund savings where it originally set up. Instead of having to make an extra transfer each time, we had to put for it to go directly to the general fund checking account to save itself.
But when you say we, who are you? Who are we?
The the mayor turning, and you and me signing.
No, we signed it, but I didn't know what y'all was doing as far as the transfer. Now, I'm not gonna say that, like, I did not know y'all transferred.
But that, you read it, I mean, you that read it, signed it, that's all I can say.
Yeah, that's exactly what it says, but let me tell you something.
That's all.
My name is there, but I have not authorized nobody to transfer no money.
We don't have to if one of the other ones do it.
Well, we feel it, I feel it was the ones that transferred it, let them close. I didn't authorize nobody to transfer, so I'm not authorizing nobody to close.
That's fine, I don't have any problem with that. Good. But the record shows that you, Mayor Turner, and Ms. Brown were all on that, and any money that was moved before the end of the year, back for the last 8 to 10 years, when the council voted to move all that money, then they
We voted as a council as a whole.
We certainly did.
Okay, I got no problem with that. As a whole, the council voted. But as an individual, let me make sure it's the record reflects that I did not, as an individual, authorize one penny to be transferred to any account.
You see the problem here? You didn't see the problem. The mayor has to give permission for all the checks, all the invoices. You don't see the problem?
What I tell you, I really believe I see what's going on is that with the situation going on with money, and I'm going to be honest with you, and the statement was made that we were taking the money, she's covering her butt, so to speak. So if she's in doubt, she should inquire as to the funds being distributed. And I can understand that. I don't think it's so much that she's trying to figure out where every nickel dollar is going, but if she's unsure, then she's doing the right step to ask questions. But some questions we make it actually tell them without bringing them before council is what I'm trying to say. I totally agree 100% what Ms. Lee said. She can pay the bill. When she asked me what we're going to do about paying the bill, I said to her, Mr. Monk, you know what you're supposed to do. You know how to pay the bill. You don't need nobody standing in front of the bill. Come in and pay the bill. Now, what are you supposed to do when you get a call from Georgia Power or you get a lemon of $12,000, so to say, light bill? And I explained that one week she said we don't have the money. I said, what do you mean you don't have the money? That's when we said, well, we got to get these bills paid. Once those bills were paid, when the workshop was in, Mr. Reese told a lie. We got plenty of money. Okay. Then we come back and go to court. All of a sudden, I'm going to bring a bankrupt. What's going on here? That's even more reason why we need the audit to be finished. I want to address America. I say one more thing. I want to address the fact, and I'm not ashamed to address the gap actually orders while we get in. On my personal level, I don't trust it. That's me. I'm speaking for me. Because when I get a lawsuit for this city and my name in there, and Mr. Boone said I talked to him, blah, 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 and he only presented one side, I got a side too. Now, I know what transpired with the conversation we had. I'm speaking on my side. I cannot work with people I don't trust. In 19 years, I have never called to ask any legal advice. Now we get these calls, and we call them legal advice. Everything we say to get the information to move the city forward, it's thrown against us. It's open meeting violation. You shouldn't have done this. You harassed her. I have not harassed anybody that's not my neighbor. And I don't appreciate reading in a lawsuit, you harass somebody. Why not get my side before you do the lawsuit? You're an attorney that represents the city, not half of it. All right. And I don't appreciate that. That's my standard, that I cannot work with people that I cannot trust.
Thank you. Next item. Item B is to discuss the bank signature card.
Well, we were trying to get it in writing and signed off on where, go back to where it was done at an earlier meeting on the drug seizure fund and the pending drug seizure fund, the Gordon Library, Board of Trustees funds, we couldn't change those in the first place, the council didn't. Because those are ruled by other authorities. So we're trying to get that into the minutes of the record. That's one thing. And the other thing is that, Mr. Smallwood and I were supposed to
and looking at the, position that the clerk holds, you are the treasurer. So if you remove yourself,
I'm still a treasurer.
you're still the treasurer, you are the payroll clerk.
Right, I can do all that without having to sign
So
a check.
that means that you're still on the section. The duties of the clerk.
Right. I can do all those duties without signing a check. And you'd already taken me off a lot of them back in February, and I still know the clerk's duties when you recommended to the council that I be taken off back then, I still know the clerk's duties.
Clerk, I recommend that we, this is still open for discussion, and I think that we really do need to get clarity on this and table this, because I'm not clear on closing this out. And you know.
All right, well, what about these, we need to get it in the minutes that these could not be changed in the first place. We changed them, but they couldn't be changed.
All of that, all of the assigned duties that you was on the price and I come in, until we get further clarity on that, I would say that we leave everything, you are on the 3 and all of the rest of them.
What about mine?
I'm off the other ones now. The ones that taken off in February, I'm off.
We have-
Y'all already changed the signature
We
cards
have-
at the bank on those, I'm off.
We have not given them a new resolution on the minute. And so we'll table that until that's clear.
It's already
That
clear.
taking mine too?
Sorry.
Is that taking my part of it? Well, I still want to be removed.
You are not,
You don't have the ones for February 17th. They've already been changed to the bank. I'm not on those.
you are the councilman, she's the employee.
But I know that. I still want to be taken
Okay,
off.
we'll accept you, but if, we'll accept you. So, we'll, and also, any further discussion, council members? This is the time for you to state your opinion, starting with Council Reed.
Man, I was gonna say that in the years that I've been on council, I've never seen a check in the city hall that didn't have the clerk signature. There may be an office, but the clerk signature is on the check. And that's part of the clerk's duty as outlined in the city charter.
Just want to remind y'all voted to take me off on February 17th, and I am on several accounts. And I did not ask to be off those accounts. Just for the minutes.
And also according to the new signature list that I have, you are still on every last one.
Oh, man, we haven't changed them at the bank.
So we can read them.
We have to go down and redo them again. The council has to approve them first.
So along that line, council,
Before you came in and took over as mayor, you know, as far as I know, every year the city has a budget that we adopt in October. Every bill is already included in that budget. The city clerk and treasurer is responsible for making sure all those bills are paid automatically. That's supposed to be her responsibility. Now, if you put something in place that you want a copy of invoice or whatever, that's your prerogative to do. But she is still responsible for doing all that. She does not have to have your approval to pay a bill. The city clerk, treasurer does not have to have your approval as the mayor, you know, to sign, because it's a budgeted item, you know. If there's something outside of the budget that comes up, then that brings on, you know, different recommendation that the council has to make, because it's a budget amendment at that time. But she's supposed to pay them without anybody having to tell her to do it, or give her an invoice, or sign it, or hold a check and wait, you know, to be approved. So we've gotten out of the, you know, treasurer's job context by changing, you know, what she's been doing. And she kind of in a position where she doesn't know what to do. And that's what I'm hearing to say. And I know for sure Mr. Tanner Underwood talked to me, because he told me to call him the other day, last Friday. And I did, and I talked with him, and I know for a fact Ms. Brown is not on some of those signature cards now. So, you know, somebody has changed them down at the bank, they have re-signed them, and she is not on. I know the splosh, that's the one we were dealing with Friday, you know.
Those are the ones that were changed on February 17th.
Again, and we'll hear from Council Smallwood. You're taking should be on all the accounts, so she can write checks for these bills. If she has to pay all the bills, let her be on all the accounts, so she won't have to go to anybody about a check. She can write it herself and pay the bill. If she been paying them over the years, let her continue to pay them. But she don't have to be on all the accounts to do it.
Okay. Council Dancer,
Well,
Councilman Dancer, I'm sorry.
I feel like he should be on all of this, like, one half. So she can pay all of this.
Councilman Woodward.
Well, I feel like that she should be on them, on all the bills. And I feel like too, that if we want to be city councils, we're here for the citizens. We're not here for ourselves. We are here for the citizens of Gore. And we need to be a part of the city council if we're going to stay on city council. I think everybody needs to do what they're supposed to do and put self out the way and do for the community.
And I'd just like to read section 4.13 of the city charter. Section 4.13, city clerk. The city council shall appoint a city clerk who shall not be a council member. The clerk shall serve for a term of 5 years and until a successor is appointed and qualified, provided that the clerk shall not be prohibited from succeeding himself. The city clerk shall be custodian of the official seal, maintain city council records required by this charter, and perform such other duties as may be required by the city council. The city council shall provide for the compensation of the city clerk.
That's been up there.
This is the most recent that I have of the
That's been up there.
charter.
We did away with the 5 years in 90 or 91, whatever, where you adopted the new charter.
Well, council, go ahead and then I'll ask you.
Can I say something?
Go ahead.
I totally agree 100% what Ms. Lee said. She can pay the bill. When she asked me what we're going to do if I spend the bill, I said to her, Mr. One, you know what you're supposed to do. You know how to pay the bill. You don't need nobody standing up with the bill. I mean, pay the bill. Now, what are you supposed to do when you get a call from Georgia Power or you get a limit of $12,000, so to say, light bill? And I explained that one week she said we don't have the money. I said, what do you mean you don't have the money? That's when we said, well, we got to get these bills paid. Once those bills were paid, when the workshop was held, Mr. Reese told us a lie. We got plenty of money. Okay. Then we come back and go to court. All of a sudden, I'm going to bring a bankrupt. What's going on here? That's even more reason why we need the audit to be finished.
Council, I'm sorry, Attorney Boone, I asked you for an update of the city charter. This was not included in my charter.
Yes, ma'am, it was. When I gave you on January 30th, that big thick notebook, it was all there.
I've not seen that and I've read it. Maybe there's an oversight. You have a copy?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, that was one Mr. Ross picked up in the office and signed the receipt for it.
This is the one. This is the one the senator gave that I picked up from Atlanta. The most recent, the update.
This was 2003 amendment, Mayor. It said pretty much, I think what you just read, it says, city clerk shall be the custodian of official city seal, maintain city council records required by this charter, perform such other duties as may be required by the city council. The city council shall provide for the compensation of city clerk. And it talks about the treasurer, treasurer nominated by the mayor with confirmation appointed by the council. Treasurer serves at the pleasure of the city council. 5-year rule is gone. Treasurer collects taxes, license fees, and other money belonging to the city. Enforce all laws related to collection of delinquent taxes, sale of foreclosed property. city treasurer shall also be responsible for the general duties of the treasurer and fiscal officer. The city council shall provide the compensation of the city treasurer. But pretty much,
What I'd like to
Same.
at that, I'd like to say, until we get further clarity on that, recommend that we table this until we get further clarity. Thank you. Next on the item for discussion is insurance. Our first order of business under the old business is going to be to authorize the completion of the forensic audit by Bill Basket, accept the engagement letter and invoices. Can I get a motion?
I offer a motion that we accept these invoices and continue with this audit.
Motion has been made. Can I get a second? Second. All in favor?
Discussion.
Discussion.
There's a third part in that, except engagement letter. That has to be done first. He has never been legally approved by the city attorney, his letter of audit, engagement. You can't go one without going back and do the other one, you know, so everything on there right there needs to be adjusted to accept his letter of engagement first before you can do anything else. So everything that's been done so far has been legal.
I want to take a little time to read over that. Make it legal.
My understanding on this now, what we've been debating, I don't know if you took long, I said it took long enough, but anyway, the thing with Mr. Basket was it not that we discussed that we approved to hire him. The problem we had was we didn't approve to pay him. And my assumption for that is, the reason why he had not worked is because we stopped paying him. He didn't get any pay. So what are we saying now? We just want to delete everything he's done and install him, or what are we gonna do?
Well, until it's legal for him to actually do any work for the city, this contract was signed by the mayor on 2/16, I think, I can't read it, paid it out pretty bad. But it was never, this was never voted on, you know, the letter of engagement, it's never been brought before this council to be voted on.
Well, council, and to add to that, my statement to that was, have y'all ever voted on anyone's engagement letter? Because, I was told that when the attorney was retained, there was no engagement letter. There's never been an engagement letter, even with Roger White, so you might want to clarify that.
I'm not gonna talk about any of the other ones. The motion now is talking about this one particular audit from Mr. Basket, you know, so you don't get off the subject with anything else, you know. So we need to stick with just this one item right now, you know.
And I do think outsourcing payroll is one step in being able to do that, along with many other things. I mean, tonight I've heard y'all talk about who's on the bank accounts. I've got no problem with it being a person on the city council. I do have a problem with someone being able to write checks who also has all the administrative and accounting input as you have here with your short staff of people. For anybody to be able to do debits and credits to the system and all the funds and move things around like that and still be the one that can cut checks and sign them, that's a red flag in the world of auditing and looking at internal controls. You'd like to have somebody doing the accounting and then someone else writing the check and someone else signing the check. But we don't necessarily have that here. The movement of funds that I heard earlier tonight, movement of funds is not required by a resolution with Georgia Fund 1. None of my clients go through a resolution to do that. The resolution is how you spend the monies ultimately. All governments, cities, counties, water authorities, whatever it might be, most of them in Georgia have a Georgia Fund 1 account. It's a great place to park money for a short period of time or even a long period of time based on rates and the convenience factor of getting that money. People wire money from Georgia Fund 1 to their operating account all the time. The controls, and remember we had this discussion back in February when you were all talking about the budget. The control is how that money is ultimately spent. And that's where the budget is important, because the budget is your legal level of control of how it's ultimately spent. Moving it from one bank account to another in the name of trying to put it in the right place so the checks can be issued. I've never had anyone have to go to city council to have moving the money from Georgia Fund 1.
We've always done it.
And that may be one of those things, that's what, if we've always done it that way, I respect that. But I'm just telling you, it's not required to do it that way. The best thing to do
If
is
it's not in the budget, let me explain one thing to you, Reed, and I say that. If it's not listed in our budget, when we begin our budget in October, if we do not have any money to be transferred out of the One Georgia Fund as our money to help cover the budget, nobody can change that budget except this council, including any funds that are moved.
okay. And what I'm
That's
trying
our
to tell,
charge.
what I'm trying to tell you is, in the world of generally accepted accounting principles and the idea of budgets, what you all do is not customary with the way other communities do these things. And Georgia,
Past practice, we've already done it, okay?
I understand. I said I respect what you're talking about, but I'm trying to explain to you that
We didn't ask for that explanation, we asked for you to just talk about this one
Well, I was talking about it in the name of control.
but you know, you're going past that.
Okay. I have gone past it.
Yes.
You are right.
I would
But
rather
again,
you to stick just for this one subject, please.
On this one subject, I think